In this video, I'm going to share with you the 5 key takeaways that I had from our Maldives swim camp a couple of weeks ago. This was a 5-day camp where we had a number of swimmers and triathletes attend to work with us over those 5 days and do underwater filming, video analysis, and open water swims in what I could only describe as one of the best places I have ever held a camp and had the opportunity to swim. These 5 lessons I garnered from the other coaches on the camp, because when you get together with people, you share ideas and you hear how other people explain things, you tend to pick up a lot. And I certainly found that working with several of the other coaches there who I brought along with me. Here are the 5 key takeaways that I had from that Maldives camp. The first one is rotation. There is a lot of power in your rotation. This movement side to side through your hips, core, and torso, you have a lot of power available there without needing to force it or try too hard. So if you can incorporate the right amount of rotation along with a good catch and pull, you are going to be swimming so much faster and so much easier compared to someone who's either swimming too flat or over rotating, which I'd describe as going to about 90 degrees, which is too far. If you can incorporate the right amount of rotation there and you are timing things well, almost like a metronome going side to side, then you can really be looking like you're swimming effortlessly and swimming very smooth. It's almost like if you were to throw a baseball and you weren't allowed to rotate through your hips and your shoulders, you wouldn't throw the ball very far or very fast. Compared to if you allowed your hips and your shoulders and your torso to rotate, you're going to get a lot more out of it. The same thing applies in swimming. So we want to be able to tap into the right amount of rotation. And to me, I'd think of that as 30 to 40 degrees through your hips and shoulders. And obviously there's a lot of drills you can do to develop it. One of my favorite drills is front kick rotation drill. And I've mentioned this on a podcast before, but if my memory serves me right, we had Michael Phelps and Bob Bowman come and do a clinic when I was about 14 years of age. And I remember Bob Bowman talking about this front kick rotation drill where you've got your arms by your side and you're rotating to 90 degrees for this drill, okay, which is more than what you do when you swim. But I'm fairly sure he said he has his swimmers who join his squad to do that drill for a week before they start swimming. Now, I'd have to ask him if that was the case, but that's how I remember it. So this drill can help you just develop that rotation and that balance and really tap into the power of that. The second one is the shape of your catch and pull when your arms are moving through the water. Now, you hear coaches talk about this in a lot of different ways. A really good way to describe it is like a long S or a skinny S. So your hand's not going to go straight through the water, and it's not going to have this exaggerated S-shaped pull that I think they taught 30 to 40 years ago. It's going to be somewhere in between, because if you take a more curved path with the hand, or at least a bit of a curve, you're going to cover a little bit more distance with that hand, which will help you get a little bit more out of it. And one of the exercises that Gary Hurring, who's ex-national swimmer, ex-national coach from New Zealand, one of the exercises he had the athletes do was to be in deep water and have your arms by your side and don't kick, and try and lift your head up, lift your shoulders up as high as you can just by pushing down on the water straight. Then compare that to sculling side to side, and you'll notice that you get so much higher with your shoulders and your chest out of the water when you do this side to side sculling motion. And it just shows you the importance of having at least a little bit of curve in your catch and pull. So not too much, but a little bit is where you'll see the hand move for someone who's doing really good freestyle or other strokes as well. So it's important to make sure you do have a bit of a curve, but not too much. You can think of it like a skinny S. The other way I like to think of that is tracing the outside line of your body, where if you were to start up here, you'd be in line with your shoulder, and then you want to come out a little bit wider at the start, like you'd be a bit wider through the shoulders, and then you'd come in and finish around near your hip. So you're almost tracing this outside line of your body, a bit like an hourglass in a way. The third one was the kick timing connection. We did some drills on one of the last days there to work on getting the kick and catch to go together at the right time. And there's 2 ways that you can think about it. You can think about it as your opposite hand entry and opposite foot going together. So hand entry and kick down on the opposite side, or you can think about it as left arm catch, left arm kick down going together. Both are the same thing, but it just depends on what you find best to work on or to tune into with that. Now, a lot of people in that exercise, a lot of people got it straight away, especially if they had good kick timing connection or kick catch connection. But the other half, I'd say, It took a while for them to get their head around it and to feel for that timing. And the feedback that I've had from people who have done our 8-week faster freestyle course, where we focus on this in week 7, is that it's frustrating at the start because they don't seem to get it. But then when it does eventually click, everything else becomes so much easier. So it can be one of those things that is a little bit frustrating because it takes a bit of time to work out and get the feel for it. But when you do get it, it can be a bit of a light bulb moment where things tend to click and it feels like you're moving through the water so much easier because the top half of your stroke and the back half of your stroke are connected. And that's when it can feel like it's much smoother, much easier. So put up with the frustration you might have at the start because it will eventually click if you follow the right drills. And we just added a new drill. It's like a single arm freestyle drill. We added this to our 8-week course. Single arm freestyle drill where you've got one arm in front and you're stroking with the other arm and you're doing 2 kicks per stroke. And when you time them correctly, that will help you get that timing for when you swim. So that's one of the better drills that you can do to help with that timing. The 4th one is swim more. Now, you want to swim, you want to train smart, you want to be smart with your training. But if you're swimming 2 or 3 times a week, you might need to increase the volume and the distance that you're doing in those sessions to really get the results that you want. So let's say you're doing triathlon and you're swimming twice a week and you're doing a kilometer each time. You'll be much better served if you can increase the volume. Doesn't have to be straight away, but gradually increase that volume and distance over time so you're getting more in. Now, I know if you're maybe at a pace around 2 minutes or 2:30 per 100, it's going to take you longer to do some of these bigger volume sets. But as you get fitter and you get faster and you get better at swimming because you're swimming more, it'll take less time to complete the workout. But a lot of people do need to swim more, whether that's longer sessions, more volume, or maybe you're adding in an extra run a week if you've got that opportunity. So yes, you want to be smart with your training, and yes, technique makes a big difference. But when you couple that with the right amount of work, the right amount of training, and still doing enough distance and frequency of sessions per week, then that is a really powerful combination. So don't discount the hard work just because we focus primarily on technique here. Those two things together are what makes really great swimmers. And the last one is the pit of discomfort. Now, I got this term from Gary Hurring when we had him on the podcast, and he reminded the swimmers of the pit of discomfort, what you're going to go through when you're making a change to something that has become a habit. And in this case, we're talking about your technique. So if there's something that you need to change in your stroke, when you make that change, it's not necessarily going to feel better and it's not necessarily going to be faster straight away. Sometimes you have to go through this pit of discomfort where things are a bit awkward, out of time, and uncomfortable just because it's different to what you're used to doing. So if you can put up with that period of discomfort where maybe you're not going as fast, maybe it doesn't feel as good, when you come out the other end, your results will be much better than what you had at the start. But it does require you to put up with that discomfort and know what to expect going forwards when you are making a change to your stroke. Whereas if your benchmark for am I doing the right thing is just, am I faster straight away? Or does it feel amazing straight away? That's not necessarily going to be the best indicator as to whether or not you are doing the right thing in your stroke. Because let's say you've swum the same way for 10 years, that might feel quite good because you're used to it. But when you add something in or you change something, it's going to feel different, and that might be awkward and mistimed because it's going to take you a little bit longer to develop that muscle memory and the timing of that change in the stroke. So if you can get through that pit of discomfort, you can come out the end a much better swimmer. So there are 5 of the key takeaways that I had as a coach on the Maldives camp. If you'd like to join us next year, we've only got 2 or 3 spots left for next year already, but I'll put the link below if they're still available. And it is such a great place to have a camp. And if you love open water swimming, you like the ocean, you love beautiful beaches, you like to swim over fish and coral and turtles and stingrays and everything else that we had there, then we've got that happening next year in early September. So I'll put the link below if you'd like to join us there. And thanks again for watching. I'll see you next week.